Hello everybody, I hope you are having a comfy, a cozy, and a relaxing Tuesday afternoon. We're back with Prince of Persia, which is entirely too loud in my ears. Hang on a second. Okay, much better. Last time we played Prince of Persia, we encountered some frustration. But I am feeling determined now, more than ever, to complete this game. There's a couple hiccups that are vexing, let's say. The first one being the El Gordo fight. He seems very good at parrying, and I am not very good at parrying, of course. But there's something about the combat in this game that... So, like, I'm used to Dark Souls combat, right? Where Dark Souls is designed in such a way that, provided sufficient skill, a player can enter a combat encounter and exit that encounter without taking damage every time, right? That takes an enormous amount of skill to get to that point, but it is an obtainable level of skill, right? It is possible. If you want that to be your goal, that can be your goal. The combat in this game... I've spent so much time with the Dark Souls games, like, of all the franchises I have experience with, Dark Souls is probably the franchise that I have the most experience with at this point in my life. Like, across Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Elden Ring, I probably have, over 1,000 hours across those games. Which isn't a lot compared to a lot of people, but hey, that's a lot for me. And so there's a lot of Dark Souls design that has sort of become ingrained in me, sort of second nature, just my assumption when playing games. And one of those assumptions is that in combat, there is an amount of skill one can acquire that will guarantee the ability to perform without taking damage every time. And maybe that's not the case here. Maybe that's an assumption that I've taken from all of my Dark Souls experience that doesn't really apply to, honestly, probably most games. There is an amount of randomness possibly in this game that there isn't in Dark Souls, and that randomness that this game has that Dark Souls doesn't in its combat means that perhaps, this is a theory, this is what it feels like anyway, no matter your skill level, there might always be a possibility of taking damage in combat in this game. Which is... that feels unique to me because of how much time I spend in Dark Souls and those kinds of games. Hooray! Just had to wait for the hooray there. So maybe what I need to do is sort of... Oh, that was quite the password. Reframe my perspective on the game and think of it more like, given infinite skill, you still only have just a high probability of succeeding in encounters without taking damage. But there's enough randomness such that it's not it can't be guaranteed, no matter your skill level. So that's the El Gordo fight for me, I think. Most of the combat in this game, like against these scrub enemies, I think you can probably reach a level of skill pretty easily where these scrub tier enemies, you can probably encounter all of them without taking any damage. The boss type enemies, that might be a different story. Because these enemies, it seems like they can parry, but they never riposte. Which bosses can parry, and they do riposte. And once you get into a parry chain with a boss, it feels like that's where randomness creeps in, and you can't guarantee exiting that encounter without taking some damage. I think. That seems to be what the research I've done suggests. So instead of thinking of how do I play the El Gordo encounter such that I can emerge from it without taking damage, I think I need to more reframe my perspective on the fight as more, how can I face the encounter and take as little damage as possible. But I can live with that. The real frustration that I came across last time we played was level 13, where, ooh, hey now, there's a particular encounter with a particular guard where you have to come up to his level from below him, and on the face of it, it appeared as though when you approach the guard, his AI has two possible reactions. One reaction makes it possible to defeat him. Oops, darn. Oh, that's right. What's our death counter at? Let's increment that counter. Death plus 313. All right, we are at 313. Oh, sorry for the alarm. Before I was so rudely interrupted by my own incompetence. What was I talking about? There's a point in level 13 where you encounter an enemy, and he has two possible responses to you approaching him. And one possible response that he can randomly choose gives you an opportunity to win, to beat the level, basically. But the other response he can choose prevents you from beating the level, basically. And it's 50-50, it's RNG, and it's basically at that point, you know, the game randomly flips a coin to decide whether or not you are going to continue playing the game. And that's the kind of design that frustrated me. And I did some research, both on and off stream, to verify if that was actually the case, if that's how that encounter was designed. And most of the correspondence I saw on the internet was people griping about that encounter and how it's just RNG and there's no way to consistently beat the level. You just have to hope for a good coin flip. But buried in all of that stuff was the occasional comment that there is a way to approach that encounter such that maybe not every time, but most of the time, you can sort of force the AI reaction that enables you to complete the level. So if that's true, I haven't tested this yet, but we're going to test it today, that's for sure. So level 13, if that's true, and there is a way to more consistently be allowed to complete the level, basically, then that'll make me feel a lot better about the game. Oh no, bad job. Bad job. Mayhaps I should focus on the game. 314. Kind of a pi death there. Pi times 100. Yep. Too early. So yeah, the El Gordo fight, if I go into it from the perspective of it's not 100% possible to all the time emerge from the encounter without taking damage, then I feel better about it. The difficulty with that is just that, like Dark Souls, it turned out to be a very effective a teacher for me. You know, the idea that given sufficient skill, a player can emerge from any encounter without taking any damage. Meant that if I did take damage, it was because of my own lack of skill. And if I wanted to stop dying, I had to stop taking damage, and if I wanted to stop taking damage, that just meant... I hate the phrase, but it meant that one must get good, right? But, there was always a way up to a point where you could consistently perform, right? The difficulty that I have with this game, if this is in fact how it works, and which it seems to me. Hang on. Okay. Is that if there is randomness in these parry battles that you can get into with bosses, these parry chains, I might, in Dark Souls, every time you fail, god dang it, I need to start paying attention. Off to a great start. 315. In Dark Souls, if you die, it's because you performed poorly, right? In, honestly, probably most other games, if you die, it's probably because you performed poorly, but also maybe it was just bad luck, right? There's always that possibility, and that makes it's that kind of, it's a signal to noise ratio, where adding in randomness like that makes it hard to determine. Like, you know, Dark Souls, you make a mistake, the mistake is clear, and you just stop making that mistake. Or you practice to stop making that mistake, and you carry on. A game like this, and probably most others, if you make a mistake, or rather, if you die, it's not immediately clear, was it a mistake on your part, or was it bad luck? And that kind of noise in the feedback, in the game's feedback, makes it a lot more difficult to improve, I find, anyway. So that's sort of where I'm at on the El Gordo fight. I think I just need to accept that, A, I do have a whole lot of up to go in terms of my skill level, for sure. But also, I think would just benefit from accepting that, okay, there is also going to be some RNG, and sometimes I could be performing, I could be doing the best thing at a given time, and just getting bad luck. Alright. It'll slow down the learning process, but so be it. The other instance, the level 13 thing, if it's literally just a case of sometimes the game, you know, flips heads and you can pass, and sometimes it flips tails and you can't, that is just bad design. Okay, let me focus on this again. I'm babbling quite a lot here. Hooray! Focus acquired. That was... Hooray! Let's do it. Level 3. It's... Randomness in games is... it's... tricky. Because, like, there's a lot of reasons why randomness exists in games. Even... you know, from board gaming era, long before video games were a thing. You know, anytime you roll the die in a board game, you're introducing randomness into the game. And that's desirable for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons being is that it can really help level the playing field between extremely competent players and extremely incompetent players, right? Someone with a lot of skill could still lose to a player with low skill, right? Which makes it a lot more exciting for everybody involved, right? But when we're talking about a single-player game, introducing randomness that means it's possible that the game randomizes itself into an unsolvable state, for some reason is such a... I know I'm not alone in this, but that kind of design is quite frustrating. And I don't really know why that's so frustrating for me and other people. Because, like, I think about the card game Solitaire, right, where, I forget what the probability is, but I want to say it's something like 20% chance, maybe even more, where you can deal yourself a literally unsolvable, solitaire game. And the only way to know that is just by playing it out. And even if you do, you may not be able to detect whether or not it was unsolvable from the start, or if you made it unsolvable by poor play. Oh no. Yeah, that death happens a lot. 316. But yeah, randomness in single-player games is apparently a tricky thing. I was talking last time about how I think I'm going to start placing less emphasis on collecting the life up potions, because some of them just end up taking so much time to acquire that maybe they're not worth it, and maybe it would behoove me to just learn to play better. But if this is the kind of game where no matter your skill level, you still have a likelihood of taking damage, well, maybe, you know, like in Dark Souls, your HP meter is basically your protection against your own mistakes that you make, right? The bigger your health bar in Dark Souls, the more mistakes you can make. And if you are the kind of player that makes very few mistakes, you don't really need that big of a health bar. In a game like this, and probably most video games that aren't Dark Souls, maybe a health bar isn't so much your ability to endure mistakes, but also your ability, or your capacity anyway, to endure mistakes plus bad luck, right? And from that perspective, maybe it does benefit me to collect every health up potion that I can find. Because between lack of skill and bad luck, I might then need quite the health bar. If it was just a matter of skill and learning how to take less damage, then, you know, I wouldn't need so big a health bar. But if it's a cushion against bad play and bad luck, then maybe, yeah, I do need as big a health bar as I can get. Oops. Okay, lesson learned. 317. But yeah, like in Elden Ring that I played Elden Ring on launch last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Wow, that game's already been out for like 18 months. That game is already well over a year old. When I played Elden Ring, I'm at the point in my Dark Souls experience where I don't need to use shields. I don't really need a health bar. I think I beat, when I finished Elden Ring, I had 20 or 25 vitality. I had a tiny amount of health, just because that's not how I play Souls games. I don't play Souls games from the perspective of enduring, being able to endure all the mistakes that I make. I play Souls games from the perspective of make fewer mistakes. And so I don't equip a shield, and I very rarely put any points, any levels into my health bar or anything like that. Because generally, while there is some randomness in Dark Souls games, it's not the kind that it's the kind of randomness that skill can overcome, right? Whereas this is not. This and the randomness in most games. Like, for instance, I was saying that Dark Souls is probably the franchise that I have the most gaming experience with in my life. Probably the franchise that I have the second most experience with in my life would be Doom. And Doom, for sure, is highly, highly random in regards to the kind of That was interesting. Huh. I nearly fell through the floor. Okay, well, I didn't, so that's fine. I wonder what, I wonder if I discovered something useful to speedrunners there. But yeah, the amount of randomness that you encounter in a game like Doom is huge, right? I gotta back up before I take that leap. 318. You know, even top tier world's best Doom players 30 years on still have no ability to guarantee a hitless run through Doom, right? There's just too much randomness. And even like Doom speedrunners, they can't guarantee that they're gonna finish every run because speedrunning Doom requires putting yourself in some risk, some danger of being hit by enemies, and you always are taking damage, but that damage you take is always a slightly randomized amount, and if you have bad enough luck, that random amount of damage you take exceeds your health, and you die. And there's no amount of better or worse play that can influence, or, well, there's no amount of better play anyway that can influence your likelihood of dying in cases like that. And, you know, that's fine, right? There's apparently nothing wrong with that. The same way there's nothing wrong with Dark Souls and its kind of combat. So yeah, I think I just need to reframe my perspective on this game in a few ways. And I will be able to have a lot more fun. Not to say that I'm not having fun now, just that clearly last week I became frustrated largely because I had an incompatible perspective on this game. I think this is why here we go. Too late. 319. It's been a few days. I think it's been 10 or 11 days since I played this, so the rust has crept back in. And we never got particularly fluent at this part anyway. So yeah, provided that level 13 is better than it appears on the face of it. So long as there is a way to improve your odds of completing level 13, if not guarantee your ability to complete level 13 on any given attempt. So long as that's doable, I'll be able to remain very positive on this game again. Only time will tell. I demand it of myself that we get to level 13 today. It may not look... it's not looking extremely promising at the moment, but I assure you, we can at least... Like the past few weeks, we've been getting to level 13 within 2 hours. Consistently. And I expect that we'll be able to do that again today. So I'm not worried about that. And these are some of the potions that make me consider, like, maybe getting all of these HP up potions. Ooh, that's interesting. That's a rare death for me, 320. These are the kinds of potions that make me think, okay, maybe collecting every single potion possible isn't necessary. Because if I can just outskill the game, then I don't need a big HP bar. But that kind of mentality started me down an incompatible path, I think, with the game and the amount of randomness that it has. Because a big HP bar is a buffer against not only bad play, but also bad luck. As opposed to, you know, my familiarity with Dark Souls, where your HP bar is pretty much only a buffer against bad play. Because there is precious little luck to be good or bad in the game. And I wonder if, like, so the reason why Dark Souls and its lack of randomness works is because it's so thoroughly deterministic, right? And the reason why the randomness works in Doom is because it's so thoroughly random, right? It's not a roguelike, but it's just there's a sufficient amount of chaos all the time such that getting bad luck never feels unfair. It just feels like it's part of the chaos, right? Whereas this game seems to have an amount of randomness that is either... I think... it's weird to say. I think this game would benefit from either more or less randomness, right? If it had more randomness, that would make the bad luck more tolerable. If it had less randomness, bad luck wouldn't be a concern. Hooray! We made it to the point of no return in this level. Job done. Oh no. It's fine, point of no return. Very little time lost. This game is mostly deterministic, right? There's very little randomness to be coped with. Bad again, 322. That when you do encounter some randomness, it feels very dissonant compared to the rest of your experience with the game. Should I be going down here yet? No, I don't think so. Right, okay, here we go. Understood, now I remember. There are good amounts of randomness that can be found in games, and there are bad amounts of randomness that can be found in games. And randomness can be good from either being high or low, and randomness can be bad from being too high or too low, right? And I think in this case, it is possible to improve this game by not only... You could improve it by removing some randomness from the game, but theoretically you could also improve it by adding more randomness. I don't know what a more random version of Prince of Persia would look like. Honestly, I think Prince of Persia, the way the movement mechanics work and the level design, I think this kind of game lends itself very well to, like, roguelike kind of design, right? I feel like, you know, a very spelunky kind of experience can be had here. There's a lot of potential with these movement mechanics. Yay! For, you know, a roguelike Prince of Persia like this to be very successful. At least, you know, theoretically. Oop. Hooray! Level 3 done. Incoming art style change. Sorry, princess. Well, one day, I promise. We need to get the bad ending first. Okay, wrong way. And so maybe there are... So I think it's a matter of just the amount of it's not the presence of randomness that makes that's offending me sometimes with this game. It's just not the best amount. It's not a perfectly tuned amount of randomness. It needs either, I think, a lot more or a little less. But the amount that's present is occasionally dissonant. Oh no. Badly done. I'm trying to move too fast. 323. Because there's also, like, the element of, like, you know, sometimes you have to meet a game developer halfway, right? Like, a game developer can't develop a game that appeals specifically to all of your desires and tastes, right? Because a game developer doesn't know you, right? And in all likelihood, if there was a game developed solely to appeal to you, it would have little appeal to anybody else, right? And of course, a game developer's job is to develop a game that has as much appeal as possible to whoever they're targeting. You know, ideally, a game developer is targeting more than one person. If they want more than one video game sale, right? Which they probably do. And since a game developer can't make a game that appeals solely to me, I have to accept that some decisions are made that I dislike, right? And I have to accept that those decisions were probably made for at least a reason. I don't know if maybe not necessarily a good reason or a bad reason or any of that, but just, you know, the decision was made. And the decision may not appeal to me, but that's fine. It would behoove me to approach games from the perspective of, like, you know, these are designed by professionals, professional game designers who know a lot more about game design than I do. And their design decisions probably come from some knowledge that they have that I don't. And indeed, like, playing Doom Eternal is a good example of, like, there's Hugo Martin, I think is his name, the director. There's a lot of instances of him saying, like, you know, ooh, hooray! Yeah, I'm sure he said hooray at some point. More specifically, there's a lot of instances of him saying, like, you know, if you play the game my way, I think you'll find that it's a lot of fun. You know, so please meet me in the middle, play it my way, and you'll probably have a good time. And I do appreciate that kind of confidence in game design, right? Like, there's a big emphasis the past several years in the AAA gaming space where games should appeal to everybody and all the different play styles one could have, right? There's a very big trend in AAA gaming where, you know, play it your way will work, right? And there's a lot of fun to be had that way, but an equally valid perspective on game development is, you know, play it my way and you'll have a good time, right? This is not the way I want to go, obviously. And indeed, you know, Doom Eternal, it didn't click with me immediately. I think it clicked with me faster than it clicked with a lot of others. But, you know, eventually I got to the point where, like, you know, okay, I see what Hugo's talking about. If I play it his way, the way he wants me to play it, yeah, this is pretty great. I'm having a great time. Whereas, you know, the other way to approach the game is, I'm gonna play it my way, which is different, and now I'm having a bad time. Alternatively, you can play the game the way the developer wants you to, and end up having a good time, right? It's difficult because that takes a lot of bravery on a game developer's part to insist that of their audience. And, you know, sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. Fortunately, I think in the case of Doom Eternal, it worked out just fine, because I have a great time with that game. And I suppose Dark Souls is like that as well. Because you really, well, it kind of is and kind of isn't the kind of game where you need to play it from Soft's way. Because Dark Souls definitely does allow for a huge number of different playstyles. It just takes a lot of work to set up the game such that your playstyle is, I don't want to say valid, but compatible, right? It's the kind of thing where, like, you know, Dark Souls 1, if you want the game to be a cakewalk, jump please. You can do that. You can play as a pyromancer, or a mage, or, you know, there's a few different a few different ways to honestly trivialize Dark Souls. And you can totally opt to play them those ways. If you want Dark Souls to be an easy game, you can do that. But it takes a lot of research to figure out how to get to that mode of play. Hooray! Whereas with something like I think, like, the biggest, like, mass market AAA game franchise that appeals to me is Far Cry. I've played a lot of Far Cry games and enjoyed them. And they are very much the kind of thing where, like, they are very thoroughly play it your way kind of games, right? You can stealth your way through everything. Bummer. 324. You can stealth your way through anything, or you can Rambo your way through anything, or you can do a combination of the two, or, you know, it's all very, you can even play the game. Far Cry games have a million different ways you can play them. They're very much play your way kind of games. And what you end up with is a lot of open-ended encounters that have a wide variety of possible solutions. Whereas something like Dark Souls, there's a lot of the encounters have not necessarily a wide variety of solutions, but a wider than it seems variety of solutions, right? Like, there might be some people saying or thinking to themselves, what do you mean you can trivialize Dark Souls? That doesn't sound right at all. I never knew Dark Souls could be trivialized. It absolutely can. Why am I over here? Is there a thing over here that's desirable? And then you have a game like Doom Eternal, where I'm in the floor. Interesting. I wonder if that's always been like that. Then you have something like Doom Eternal, where really there's only one way to have fun. there's only one way to play the game and enjoy it. Must focus. Okay. I think... so close. You know, a game like Doom Eternal, you either play it Hugo Martin's way, or you're gonna have a bad time, right? that's sort of the end of it. Whereas something like Dark Souls, you know, there's a good 3 or 4 different ways you can play it. And then something like Far Cry. Why am I doing so badly this time? What am I... Yeah, what am I... I'm getting parried by her a lot more than I usually do. And see, this is the first instance of, like... The first instance today, and I guess the first instance in the game where I have to wonder, like... These parry chains that you can get caught up in. Is there a way to emerge from them every time without taking any damage? Okay. Oh, okay. Alright. I didn't like that. We just kept trading blows, but... Well, I had... Yeah, not satisfying. So yeah, it's difficult to know how much of that is a skill issue or how much of that is a randomness issue. And how to improve. Because, you know, bad luck, you can't fix that, you can only endure it. And so, you know, ultimately one has to, when someone's playing an unfamiliar game, I think something that a person should consider when they're playing a game is, you know, on the spectrum of I can play this game any way, or I can only play this game one way, where does this game sit, right? And this kind of game, I may have misplaced it on that spectrum of, like, you know, how... What kind of mindset do I need to be in to maximize my enjoyment from this game? Thank you for falling, sir. Thank you for die. It's part of video games literacy, right? Like, you know, when you're reading a book, when you're still in the first few chapters and you're still in the exposition, there's a lot of different things you should be analyzing, like, you know, is this narrator reliable? I mean, there's a million things. And those things that you need to be considering during the exposition of a piece of media are all different depending on the medium that you're experiencing. And in the case of video games, I think you will find yourself able to enjoy a lot more games if you're able to identify, like, you know, how many different ways can I play this game? Am I playing it the right way? Am I playing it the wrong way? Is there a wrong way? Etc. You know, identifying the... I don't want to say possibility space, because that's a different thing. But, like, the mode of play that ensures the most fun, right? Identifying it and aligning yourself with it. And it's just one of those things that takes practice. And the way you practice is just by playing a lot of different games, a lot of different ways, right? And it's hard to... It can be hard to play a game that... you know, it's a game's best mode of enjoyment is a mode that you are not familiar with or used to playing, right? And so maybe being able to enjoy a game, I did the exact same thing, requires learning a new play style, and that can be a not insignificant hurdle in between you and your ability to enjoy a game. And if you're able to overcome a sort of initial reticence about a new play style, you may find yourself suddenly with a brand new favorite game, right? Or maybe not, you know. It's a flexibility. It's a kind of flexibility that is beneficial to have, but is not always rewarding, right? Being able to be flexible with your ability to enjoy different things never makes it harder to enjoy something, right? Or never makes you enjoy something less. Squish. Or maybe that's not what I intend to say, but what I mean is that broadening your ability to enjoy multiple things never diminishes your ability to enjoy something that you already enjoy, right? Developing that ability to enjoy a wide variety of different things. Well, that's a new one. I feel like sometimes that works. 329. You know, being able to enjoy a wide variety of different things is not necessarily rewarding all the time, but it's never detrimental, I don't think. So it's a good skill to work on. And I'm just sort of trying to extend this to, yeah, 420 is when I hit 420 deaths, something special will happen for sure. And we're rapidly approaching. We're under 100 away. But yeah, there's a lot that... let's not push him off the edge. Not until he's ready to die, anyway. Yeah, exactly. That's why Dark Souls works so well for me as sort of like as a teacher, is because, you know, the way to play better, at least for me, is always clear, right? And I think a large part of that clarity on that path towards becoming a better Dark Souls player, a large part of that is the lack of randomness in Dark Souls games. And there's just enough randomness in this game such that the path towards becoming a better player is obscured, I think. Like the spinny lady fight just now. Last week, we one-shotted her, basically. You know, just first try, and she was done. This time, it was quite close. It took a few attempts, and we only barely made it this time. So it's hard to know, like... Okay, so I finally remembered that I wanted to explore this path. This is not the correct way forward, but this is a branch whose contents I don't remember. I don't know what this is. I don't know why all these potions are here. Oh. So that's a questionable reward. I feel like the reward is not necessarily for health potions. I feel like there's a secret there where you can just sort of wander through the wall and there's a health up potion there or something. I feel like that's not for healing potions so much as it is a breadcrumb trail to a better reward. Because that reward itself is really kind of not that good. We only have the need of one potion, and even then, this is the end of the level where our health doesn't really matter that much anymore. So yeah, I question what the reward actually is there. Hooray! Job done. Okay, that is about an hour. So let's see, I'm going to take a real quick break. Level 8, hooray. I'm going to take a real quick break, going to do some stretches. I'll be right back in just a little bit. Hang tight. Alright, and we're back. Thank you for waiting. Level 8, let's do this thing. I think I want to head to the right. Oh no. Yes, that's right. This is the potion that made me start thinking last time. that may be I don't really need to be collecting every single HP up potion that I'm aware of. Because the time investment to get this one is so steep. But considering that I need to curate an HP bar that can not only endure my lack of skill, but also my potential lack of good luck, perhaps it is worth the time it takes to collect that. As I mean, some of the things I've been saying may lead a person to believe that I think I'm good at this game, which is very much not the case. I know I have a million miles of better to become. But there's a possibility that even the best players can't guarantee perfect runs. Maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. I'm not sure. I haven't done that much research into it. It just seems like, at this point in my experience with the game, that seems to be the case. Before the break, we were talking about being flexible and being malleable and being able to enjoy a lot of different kinds of media. And it's, you know, it is very, very rewarding to be able to enjoy a lot of different examples of different media. Thump. Alright. Oh, that's right. This opens this gate down here. Yes, okay. A person can benefit from exercising their ability to enjoy different examples, very different examples of different media. Right. Sometimes you're able to just enjoy something effortlessly. Sometimes you sort of need to meet the creator in the middle to really get enjoyment out of it. But, you know, sometimes an enormous amount of effort is required to get closer to being able to enjoy a thing. And you might still never get there, right? There are some things that are just, you're just not able to enjoy, right? And that's another skill that requires development, I think. Being able to know, like, okay, is this a thing that I am struggling to enjoy? And is that something that, am I able to bend myself enough to enjoy this, or do I have to bend myself so much that I break before I begin enjoying a thing, right? And, you know, to be clear, that's not at all what's happening with me with this game. I'm enjoying this game very, very much, very thoroughly. Just sort of train of thought, expounding on some philosophy of art kind of stuff. Did that open up? We're getting to the part of the game where it's a bit mazy and I'm not remembering the way oh, okay. The way forward. Okay, gotcha. Yes, I remember now. Just it's part of media literacy. A big part of it is knowing where your limitations are and where they aren't, and honestly how malleable your limitations could be. Like, I know there are definitely some games that I'm just not able to enjoy. What's the way forward here? Do I feel like every single week is me unsure. Nope, that definitely ain't it. But that's definitely how you, dropping that tile above it is definitely how you open a door. 330. Okay. Like, No Man's Sky is an example of a game that the first time I played it, I pretty thoroughly disliked it. I found very little to enjoy about the game. But then, sometime later, I came back to it after a few more updates. And I was able to bend my preferences into a shape where I was able to start finding enjoyment in the game. And suddenly I have, this isn't going to sound like a lot, but suddenly I have something like 60 or 70 hours in No Man's Sky, which for me is a lot. I usually don't put, there's very few games that I put more than 25 hours into. I usually, most games of that length, there's very few games of that length I even like. I'm very much a kind of, like, 8 to 15 hour game length is like the sweet spot for me. And games past that, I very seldom like. But, you know, that and some other obstacles were making it difficult for me to enjoy No Man's Sky the first time. But then I bent my preferences into a shape that allowed me to start enjoying the game. And once I got there, I ended up getting quite a lot of enjoyment out of it. So being able to, being malleable like that turned out to be very rewarding for me. But there are some games where I tried to be flexible. And simply could not bend myself into the right shape to enjoy something without causing myself too much displeasure, right? Unfortunately, I'm trying to think of examples of games like that. I think Jak and Daxter 2 is one that comes to mind. I liked Jak and Daxter 1 a lot. It was just a nice, colorful collectathon platformer, right? Collectathon mascot platformer. Jak and Daxter 2 was the company saying, we're sick of making this kind of game and making a completely different thing. And it was this very emo, grimdark, teenage angst. I'm 13 and this is deep kind of game. Totally a completely different tone, total 180. Instead of being a collectathon mascot platformer, it was this grimdark GTA-like, of all things. Very strange. redirection. A course correction is what I was trying to say. And I tried very hard. I knew going into it that a lot of people really, really love Jak and Daxter 2. And I really, really like Jak and Daxter 1, so I thought, okay, I should be able to bend myself into a position, into a shape where I can enjoy this game. But I never found one. And it just ended up causing me more distress than I ever got any pleasure out of it. And ultimately, I had to just stop. Right, I'm here again too soon. Or rather... Okay, so I need to be up there, clearly. Where's the right way forward? I'm sure I ask this every single week. So yeah, at some point you just have to recognize within yourself, you know, there's bending and then there's breaking, right? And, you know, sometimes bending yourself enough to enjoy something can feel like a bit of a stretch, but then, you know, once you're there, right? And it can feel quite comfortable and just fine. Where am I going? Okay, let's... Where am... Okay, so... Surely that's not the... Oh, it is! Okay. What's over here, then? Right, okay, so yeah, that switch is... I assume... this one over here that requires a tile dropping. Bummer and blast. I guess we'll have to explore on a whole new iteration of this level. What's through here? Okay. So yeah, unfortunately, on your own journey of exploring what things you can find enjoyment in, and finding what things you simply cannot find enjoyment in, some bad experiences must be had, right? It's an unfortunate truth, but it's a kind of exploration that I think is worth doing. Like I said with No Man's Sky, that required a lot of malleability on my part to be able to enjoy, but once I was able to get there, I got there, right? But sometimes, try as you might, you just won't get there. And that's fine. I think we're approaching about 30 seconds of me not talking for a change this episode. I hope you've been enjoying the unlikely silence. Oh, is that... No, that can't be. Trying to think of where that tile is. Where is that tile that must be dropped? So it's not here. Yeah. Alright, some explore... Okay, I think I get it. I think down there is the tile that must be dropped. Let's open the gate below me. And now let's open this gate. Unfortunately enough for me, another kind of I think it's fair to call it more of a trope than a genre in game design that I've been unable to find any enjoyment in is a lot of sort of modern open world game design sensibilities. Like, particularly, Breath of the Wild, I really struggled to find any enjoyment in. And, similarly, Elden Ring, of all games, I really struggled to find any enjoyment in. Can I just... It is shortcuttable. Okay. Interesting. Alright, there's just something about, like... So the way Elden Ring and the way Breath of the Wild are designed, those open worlds, the way they're designed is such that, you know, you explore a big, mysterious world, but you only need so many resources, right? Like, Breath of the Wild, you need weapons, you need spirit orbs, I think they're called, in order to level up certain stats. Hooray! You know, there's a lot of exploration that can be done in Breath of the Wild, but the problem is that anywhere you explore, all you're ever gonna find is, like, here's a tiny little puzzle shrine, or here's an enemy camp, right? And you know exactly what you're gonna find at the end of the shrine, you know exactly what you're gonna find at the end of the enemy camp. It's a big open world full of extremely predictable stuff. It's the kind of thing where, like, it's a big, wide open world, and even after only exploring maybe 10% of the game, you already know what's around every corner, pretty much, right? There's not a lot of variety in regards to what you can find. That's pretty much the core design philosophy behind Breath of the Wild's open world, is that, you know, it's a big open world, but you've only got so many things to find in it. Timing. Alright. Okay. So in theory, it's a big, mysterious open world. In practice, it's really just kind of a world full of nothing. And Elden Ring was designed exactly the same way, and I found myself unable to find any enjoyment in that kind of exploration. As opposed to something like the Kingsfield games I've been playing, where they are not at all, you know, modern style open world games. They're not even really. Without getting too bogged down in semantics, I'll go ahead and call the Kingsfield games not open world. And despite being not open world, or at least not open in the same way, and certainly much smaller, I found the exploration to be so much more rewarding and so much more exciting, even though the world was so much smaller and less open than something like Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring. El Gordo. Alright, let's see if we can learn anything here. Okay, how do I... Ugh. Let's get you back on the screen here. Yep. Clean... Woof. Okay. 332. So yeah, this is where this whole thing started off, talking about how is this difficult because of a skill issue or a luck issue? I mean, it's both, I think. But how much of it is luck? See, like, this time I don't really feel like I'm doing anything different. He just approaches me, and sometimes he just walks into my sword, and sometimes he doesn't. Yeah, I have no idea what I did differently that time. None at all. 333, that's a nice, pleasing number. Let's see if I can... We get to fight El Gordo again. Let's see if we have a similar experience. Come on. Okay. Yeah, see, I'm doing the same thing, where I just wait for him to lurch forward, and then strike. And sometimes, that's 334, sometimes that works more often than not, and sometimes that almost never works. And then if he does parry me, I'm not sure how to... Let's get him back on the screen here. There is... I am button mashing for sure, but... Well, there's attack and there's parry, and that's kind of it. Okay, that time. A favorable outcome. I think it has to do with distance. Oof. Okay. It's... I'm gonna take a deliberate death here, so I can do the fight again. 335. I'm still counting it. I died on purpose, but I'm still counting it. Dying in the name of research. Does it have to do with, like... starting position. Okay. I'm just comparing, like, the tips of our swords here. Okay, it's too much. There we go. I think that's a good one. Okay, so I feel like there's like a perfect number of pixels between you and El Gordo where when he steps forward, you're able to land an attack. Gonna do another science death, so we can do that again. And see if we really are learning something here. El Gordo! Have at you! I think that's... Nope, that was fine. Okay, that's too far, I think. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Okay, so I think whenever we trade some unsuccessful parries, that puts us... I'm gonna do another science death. 337. I think whenever we do some unsuccessful parries, that puts us in a position where we're very likely... Okay. Oh. I don't know what the science is here, but we're doing better, that's all I know. Okay, so what changed there? Yeah, so what changed there? Yeah, what's different? Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It's... Well, that's... a lot of instances of us defeating him now. So I feel pretty alright. That's a death! I'm gonna count it. 338, even though that's a scripted death. That's how we did... 339. Okay. Sleep. And now the El Gordo Science Hour has caused me to completely lose my train of thought. So I guess the the game design lecture from the man who does not know anything about game design segment of our stream has ended. Why is this skeleton harder than El Gordo all of a sudden? Okay. Can live with that then. That was messy. We'll see if we can make do with that though. Okay. We are... getting better. If I can make this... Let's see if we can make this happen anyway. It is hard to know, like... Every now and then I have these instances of gameplay where it feels like, no, there's no... It's random, it's not deterministic enough. It's impossible to consistently perform such that you can guarantee a hitless given sufficient skill. There is no amount of sufficient skill that can allow you to guarantee a flawless playthrough, a flawless play, because the amount of randomness prevents that. It's sometimes, most of the time, that feels like they know. Most of the time it feels like there's just enough randomness such that there is a finite skill ceiling. But then sometimes it feels like it's yeah, boy, it's just so hard to know. Ah, we had potential on that one. 340. Let's remember the gotcha. Gotcha. We're good. I would like to see if I can do... well, the thing with the scrub enemies like these, I think the bosses are a totally different conversation. The scrub enemies like these, the non-bosses, I think these absolutely can be... there's absolutely an amount of skill that can guarantee hitless performance. I think the way forward towards that amount of proficiency is clear. If still far away from me achieving that. The bosses, on the other hand, are a different conversation. Like, for some reason, the El Gordo fight just now was a real mixed bag of, you know, sometimes I'm dominating him, sometimes he's dominating me, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything differently between those attempts. Great. And the funny thing is, like, that's exactly what a lot of first-time Souls players will say. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, that still sucks, but that's interesting. 341. But yeah, a lot of first-time Souls players will be saying that kind of thing. Where sometimes it feels like they're doing great, and sometimes it feels like they're doing awfully, and it feels like to them they're not doing anything differently. When, you know, now as an experienced Souls player, I know absolutely there is a way to play the games flawlessly. So maybe there is a way to play these flawlessly. And certainly with these scrub enemies, I definitely can see that. With the bosses, it's less clear. But maybe there is a way. Like this level, there are no bosses, so conceivably I can perform this level without taking damage consistently. Oh, I did the same thing. Hey! Okay, that's interesting. Alright. Right, wrong way. Oh, no, that is the right way. So it's... I am on the path towards enlightenment regarding Prince of Persia. It is not yet clear where on that path I am. And what is at the end of that path. At the end of that path, will I learn that perfect play is possible or impossible? Or, sorry, I should say, is perfect play possible or not is perfect consistent play or consistently perfect play? Is that possible or is that impossible? Right. Maybe perfect play is possible, provided sufficient luck. But you can't control that. The big door! Let's not make a foolish death here. I heard some noises upstairs just now. I wonder if the kitties are up to anything. On the recent break, I went upstairs and I checked in on the kitties, and they were just having a nice little nap in their cat tree looking out the window. Some neighbors across the street are... Oh, hooray! Sorry, I forgot the thing. Some neighbors across the street are having their roof redone. So there's a lot of roofers doing the things that roofers do. And the cats are very fixated on watching that happen. But yeah, over the break, just now, I went ahead and I checked on them and I gave them some scritches and some love. And they're happy, so that's good. But I'm now in that stage of pet ownership where if I hear an unexplained sound, what could it be? For some reason, like when it was just me alone in the house, hearing an unidentifiable noise, oh, well, that's no problem. Just a murderer broke into my house or something, whatever, no big deal. But when as a pet owner hearing an unidentifiable sound, totally different thing. Yeah, see, the scrub enemies, there's a particular timing kind of element where I can defeat them without even being able to see them, like I did just then. Bosses, it doesn't feel like there's that kind of element, which is good. Bosses should be harder, and they are. Bosses are more advanced type of enemies, they require more advanced type of play, so that's totally reasonable. But yeah, scrub tier enemies are, their AI is totally predictable. Oh my. So it should be being able to escape every encounter with every scrub tier enemy without damage. Pupe. Should be a reasonable goal. Reasonable and consistently possible. What's down this way? I forget. This is another episode of me not remembering the way forward here. Do I want to go take the lower path first? Let's see. Might could want to do. Thump. It's down here. Okay. It's not death, so that's something. Okay. So I think... Okay, so... What is this, level 11? Yeah, level 11. Probably take the lower path first. It also helps that scrub enemies... Nice. Don't riposte. Right, bosses do, scrubs don't. And it feels like that's where the randomness really creeps in on these games, is when you have those riposte battles. Oh, there's no tiles to drop above me. Interesting. Okay, I've become lost again. Which is very on brand for me. What's up here? Seemingly nothing. Probably nothing I can grab onto. What's through... Okay, I think there's some tiles I need to drop. Ah, not some bodies, some tiles. Foolish me. 20 minutes left, huh? Sorry, princess. I think you're gonna have to wait another week. Okay, so what's up here? Let's complete the upper path then. Okay, so all that's down there is just a single heal. Not very valuable. Especially not right now. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, when you're fighting a scrub enemy, it seems like there's a... When you strike at the appropriate time, which the timing element, that's easy to achieve. When you strike at the appropriate time, there's a random chance that the guard will block, or a random chance, or there's two outcomes. The guard will either block or take damage. If the guard blocks, nothing happens. If the guard takes damage, hooray, the guard takes damage. When you're fighting a boss, there's a random chance that the guard, or the boss, will either take damage or will parry. And if the boss parries, there's another random chance that you will lose the parry battle, I think. That's how it feels at the moment, anyway. Maybe that's an accurate description of what's happening under the hood. Maybe not. Okay. What's different here? Okay. Get a pincushion. One thing that would really accelerate my progress through the game is like taking the time to like download all the maps and memorize every single path, right? But that's that's rote memorization, and that's something I've discovered that I just am not a fan of when it comes to gameplay. I have a much better time with not memorizing the game maps, but becoming so competent with the game mechanics that I can sight read any situation, right? I don't need to rely on my memory to achieve success. There we go. I can simply skill my way through the whole game. That tends to be how I have fun. Oh, I see what I should be doing. Okay. Understood, right? Do I got it? Oh, I remember what's happening here. Okay, so yeah, this tile. Let's do the loop again. Dropping that tile is... Eek! I don't know if it's mandatory, but it's certainly very helpful. 344 for players of my skill level. Dropping that one tile lands on a switch. That means that a door... There's no time pressure on a door closing anymore. Okay, let's do the top path first, if I remember right now. The preferable way through here. But yeah, I think the quick the quick method to success with this game would just be to, you know, rote memorize all of the correct steps to get from the start of a level to the end of a level. But that's just less interesting to me. I'd rather get more competent at the mechanics such that I can walk into a situation that I don't have memorized and emerge victorious by virtue of my ability rather than my memory. Don't know why I enjoy that mode of play compared to the rote memorization mode of play. And it's why, at least Spelunky in particular, as a roguelike, appeals to me as much as it does, because that's pretty much how you beat Spelunky, is that you just master the mechanics, right? Because you can't memorize anything, it's a roguelike. Every single 345, every single level, every single time is different. There's nothing to memorize. All you can do is practice the skills. And for some reason, that is the kind of gameplay that appeals to me. Spelunking co-op is definitely something I need to I need to experience. That sounds hectic and chaotic and very fun. I do love chaos. Chaos is good fun. Let's drop this tile for, I assume, a reason. Indeed. Okay. $346. The one time I thought, oh, I can just drop down. Yeah, that sounds fun. Let me, during the next break, let me see if I can dig up my Steam link. Okay, let's go over here and drop some tiles, and then I think that's pretty much the end of this upper path. Ooh, he got me. I couldn't see him, so of course he did, but he got me. What a jerk. There's a tile over here. What must be dropped? Okay. I can't see what's down there. Probably swift death, if I had to guess. Tell you what, let's find out. Yep, swift death, alright. 347. There's also an element of, like, I try to find, you know, what's the quickest, most efficient way through these maze levels. And, you know, I trial and error my way to, you know, these faster paths through levels. And then I take a week off of the game and I completely forget. So... Okay. Yeah, let's just... yeah, let's keep going this way. I don't know what door that one tile... Oh, I'm going towards the potion here. Yeah, there's really no... Okay, well, we exist down here now. I don't know what door that one tile that we're dropping opens. But I get the sensation that having that tile dropped is greatly beneficial. And then there's occasional times like that where it feels like, sir, the controller is dropping some inputs. Or maybe not the controller, but the game. Or, you know, I'm not sure. This is... When I got this controller, I took it apart and did a deep clean, so it should be pretty functional. But... boy, that's just so tight. I don't... Cool, I am indeed on Discord. If I can get fast enough through here... I feel like fast players can cut off just a whole heap of this level. The problem is that, like, this climbing up and down stuff, there's just no way to speed that up. And theoretically, if I do... I guess that is faster, though not by a lot. Let's try it. There's definitely no way to speed up the climbing. The climbing up for sure. Doof. Alright, 348. Let's see if we can... Let's see if what I'm trying to do can become possible. Spikes! Because, yeah, if there is a way to quickly pass through that gate without relying on dropping a tile on the switch. That's a good question. I'm pretty sure I have Spelunky 2 on Steam as opposed to GOG. It might be 50-50. I'm not sure which one I have that on. I'm pretty sure Steam, but I could be wrong. No, oh, that's right. Okay, so the other problem is that if you're on the ledge, if you're on the ledge there, pushing crouch will cause you to, instead of crouching, climb down, which is the exact opposite of what you want to be doing. Okay, let's try this again. That's a bad start. And try it again. Nope. Bad. 349. Okay, well. No, I'm just very... I want to science this out. Because if I could eliminate the top route, that's like half the level that we can avoid, and that'll save us a lot of time. And at the end of the day, this is a game with some time pressure to it. So the more we can do to alleviate those time pressures, the better. Oh! Whoa! 350. That's a gruesome death. So far, so good. No! Ew. 351. The gruesome death. Okay, well, I am going to take another quick break. I'm going to stand up, do some stretches, get some water if you are able to. I recommend that you do the same because your body loves those things very, very much. I'll be back in a little bit with some more Prince of Persia. Let's see if we can finish the game this time. It's looking... it doesn't look great, but mostly because we're taking our time just trying to do some science here to improve our speed overall. But, you know, we're still improving, and that's good. So let's keep that up. I'll be back in just a little bit, and we'll continue. Hang tight.